do they? You just like bang, bang.
Welcome. Wow, this microphone is too high for me.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Hugh. This is for you. You have been in Japan so many times for promoting other movies, but this one is your longest stay and interactive many Japanese local people. So what was your discovery? What was your experience over there?
Thank you for the question. I've not only promoted movies there, but I've been 3 times, I think, or 4 times for vacation. My wife and I and kids love Japan, but we'd never had the experience of working there and going for such a long period of time. And we went to not only Tokyo, which I've been to the north to ski. This time we went to Kyoto. We filmed in Tomonora, which was 4 hours south on the bullet train. So, and Fukushima, we went to places I'd never been to before. And it was so, I feel I have a much richer, deeper understanding of Japan and its culture. We climbed, my son and I climbed Mount Fuji, which I've been hearing about for many years. And, you know, in every way, my fascination and love of Japan just deepened. And one thing that was really important to Jim and I was that, of course, this film is based on a famous comic book set in Japan. But as we made the film, we were constantly thinking about how this film would feel to the Japanese people. We wanted them to be proud of how we show their country and their customs and culture.
Next question. Hello, I'm a big comic book fan. I read the comic book that you mentioned, what the movie's based on. And here's the thing, I'm a little worried because I've seen all the trailers, of course. And one of the things that is revealed in the trailer is that Wolverine chooses to lose his healing factor. Now, obviously, being a longtime comic book fan, you know that things have to go back to the way they are. Don't you feel that you've revealed a little too much of the movie in the trailer?
Well, you know, that's a good question about trailers in general, I think. But it's not that he chooses. I don't want to give too much away. Oh. But you've inferred something that may not actually be true. Oh. So, of course, that'll make a big difference to you. I understand that might be upsetting.
Yeah, it kind of is, because, you know, it's really cool about just the Wolverine having to live forever and all that pain that he comes.
I think you're spending too much anxiety before seeing the movie.
Of course,
yeah.
I always do.
You should see it and then get really pissed or not.
But trust me, I'm going to be the first one to see it.
No, but I think that you may be more satisfied with what you experience in the film when it's not upcut to 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
But you know what is in the film, and I don't mind saying, and you can feel that from the trailers, is imagine being 200 or 300 years old and living with the fact that everyone you've known or loved has passed or died, or in the case with Jean Grey, the love of his life, he killed her, you know, as he'd become Dark Phoenix. In the end of X-Men 3, he kills her and then roll credits, you know. So finally in this movie we get a chance to live with what haunts Wolverine, what it is like having that sort of immortality, being who he is, and knowing that his strengths bring destruction, pain, and loneliness as well. So he questions the burden that is his life, but I'm not going to say he chooses it.
Okay. I'm sorry, that's what I got from the trailer. Thank you very much.
That's all right, man.
Hello. Sorry. Jordan Gibson from web series Super Knocked Up. My question is for Mr. Mangold. You have a very diverse, wonderful group of films under your belt. Looking back on this film, what are you most proud of? What is something that just makes you stand up even taller? I mean, it is Wolverine. People love this whole world. But what's your proudest moment looking back on filming this?
Well, there's a couple things. One proudest moment would be my long-term association with this guy right here, just realizing about halfway through that I was really proud of what we were making, and that just on a simple friendship basis and an emotional basis, you can go back 12 years, and I can remember working with him and being very proud, and just where we have come to, just on a simple gut level, that. But on a movie level, I think that what I'm really proud of about the film, and what I think we worked very hard to do, was to deliver intense action to the fans with Wolverine, but also to deliver a drama, to deliver character work, deliver an actual movie in which between the set pieces of action, there weren't set pieces of action, but actual scenes with characters dealing with the ramifications of what had happened and where they were headed. And I think that was really the big goal for all of us when we got involved in this, was to somehow figure out if we could both let the reins go, even go further with intensity, and at the same time carry an audience through what would be scenes that would be dramatic in nature and not feature an explosion, you know?
Wonderful. Thank you.
I might just add to that because I want to compliment him. But Hutch was working at Fox when I first began X-Men 1, and this woman here, Lauren Shuler, was the person who picked up my audition tape when I was playing Curly in Oklahoma from the bottom of a pile, which probably was chucked out of a window as well.
Wow.
And that audition I did 7 months before I had a callback, and there was only one reason. That's because Lauren was saying, you should check this guy out. So if there's one person who knows me as an actor and has championed me, Lauren said to me after seeing the movie, this is the best you've ever been as Wolverine. And I immediately replied to her, well, thank you, but that's because of him. Because I'd forgive a director walking onto a set with an actor who's played a role 5 times before of saying, listen, you do your thing, I'll worry about everything else, but he never did. With me, with all the other actors, Rila who've never been in a movie, for example. He really, I think, got the most out of all of us.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, how you doing? Dan Deavy with the Cinema Source. Hugh, it's so rare that an individual character can become kind of bigger than the movie that he started in. And I can't even think of a corollary besides Wolverine that's done that. How that can jump from, movie to movie and show up in great kind of unexpected places sometimes. What's your impression of the character, and can you ever see leaving him? He's so perfect for you.
Well, I think, thank you, but I think you're slightly exaggerating it, and around about Memorial Day next year, you'll see that you're slightly exaggerating, because the X-Men movies are beloved all around the world. And actually, if you go back to the comic book series, the Wolverine sort of spin-offs are very, very popular, but the X-Men series has always been kind of the foundation. I think what X-Men did, and Wolverine's a great example of it, is invent a way to make superheroes human. Complex, flawed, interesting. That's why they're played by so many interesting and different actors. That's why so many great directors take them on, because there's an opportunity for something very, very human as well as something spectacular. When I grew up, I loved Mad Max. I loved Dirty Harry. I couldn't get enough of him, right? Because that's who I thought was cool. That's who I wish I was like. And in a way, I think Wolverine fills that. That kind of archetype. He's a bit of an anti-hero. Deep down, he's a good guy, but he's never a nice guy. And he's conflicted, and he is, in a way, flawed. But at the same time, he's just the last person you want to piss off. And there's something really cool about that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next question.
Hey guys, I'm Erin with Clever Movies. And speaking of Wolverine being able to be so versatile, I'm curious as to how the Wolverine storyline will kind of come into play in Days of Future Past in the X-Men franchise.
Why don't you answer that, Lauren, seeing as you're a producer of both? Do you want to answer that? So I don't get in trouble for giving anything away?
It's hard to say. All the characters are intertwined. And I'm just hesitating because, I don't want to spoil the movie for you when it comes out next year. So all I can say is that Wolverine plays a very integral part in the movie. And I know that's vague, but you'll have to go see it.
And also, if you stay to the end of the Wolverine, you see a great teaser for Days of Future Past. But it's fair to say, the Wolverine, as he leaves, the character you see at the end of the Wolverine is very much the character who enters Days of Future Past, which, by the way, is a very different character to the beginning of the Wolverine. So it's quite a journey.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Joe, do you have a question?
Joe McCabe, Total Film. Lauren, this is a question for you. In doing this film, which is based on one of the seminal 80s superhero comics, I was just wondering if that gave you a sort of a renewed appreciation for, that lean storytelling that was so strong, in Claremont and Burns' graphic novel, or Claremont and Miller's graphic novel, rather, and if we'll see in X-Men Days of Future Past that continue in the sense of, adherence to that really meaty storytelling that they had.
Yeah, I mean, look, we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for them, for Chris Claremont and Frank Miller and Len Wein and all those guys. So they did. They told a lean, mean story in the Wolverine saga, but the Wolverine saga was, was too large in a sense to sort of condense. So we just picked a part of it. What's interesting is once you get into the Days of Future Past with so many versions of reality in the comic of the past and the future, and intercutting between those stories, and the way they told the story, they ratcheted up the tension in both the present and the future, or at that time it was the present and the future. Were it not for them actually building original characters with flaws and conflict and grounding them in reality, we would not have made any of these X-Men movies. But because these characters were so real to all of the comic fans, they were easy to bring to life and to attract great actors and directors.
Thank you.
Hi, Diane with Studio System News. I just had a question regarding the international nature of the film and the influx of international actors. And with the influx of international actors and money in film in general these days, how do you see that affecting the domestic film industry?
Over to you guys.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it is now an international business. And I'll toss some of this to Hutch, too. But it is an international business. It used to be years ago when I started making movies, it was you worried about your domestic gross. And maybe, 10 years in, so I started actually, I won't tell you when I started, but by the 90s, you were started to be concerned about, maybe you should have a French character or an Italian character or a Chinese character. Now it's very international. You can do not so well domestically and huge internationally and have a great big hit. Hutch has seen a lot of this transpire too, so I'm curious to see what he'll say.
Yeah, I mean, I think Lauren's right that today's movie market is a world market, right? And it's no longer a domestic-centric thinking either at any of the studios or, frankly, on behalf of filmmakers. You have to look at it in terms of a global audience. This comic and this particular story, and one that was championed so heavily by Lauren, calls up and asks us to go to Japan. And I think, interestingly, in times past, that might have felt challenging. I think in today's market, it felt like an opportunity to take the audience to a world, to take the characters to a world that we've never seen, that we really haven't seen depicted this way. And it was almost something we talked about in making the movie that felt analogous to taking them to an alien planet or taking them to a parallel universe, somewhere where we could really make them a fish out of water. And so I actually think the uniqueness and the exotic nature of Japan is going to serve, hopefully, very well to the domestic market as something new, but also to the global market.
The only thing I'd add to all that is that I think that I don't really think about that so much when I enter a project, is like how I can make it work in 28 marketplaces. But I think that what Hutch and Lauren are touching upon is the idea also that this was a story that took place in Japan. And I think that one of the things that, even though the climate is changing and people are more conscious of world cinema and international markets, is I have to give credit to Fox for really coming through on something that they laid the table for when I came on the project, which is that they were really willing to take a risk with this. I don't think it's as simple. You can make a movie where you pull in different cast members, one from Europe and one from Asia and you create this kind of Benetton commercial that sells around the world. But you can also, this is a movie with, other than Hugh Jackman, it's pretty much 100% Japanese cast. So I think that took a lot of guts on the part of Fox. And I think they also let me play a third or more of the movie in Japanese, which I thought also was a very sophisticated way to go. And I think it's what plays better for audiences these days, because I think we've gotten past the age of characters from another country being alone in a bedroom speaking English for some reason. But I think it's still, you have to acknowledge in this marketplace with the amount of money getting invested in a movie, that the studio really made a commitment with this film to make something different, to make something a little left of center and a little out of the box. And I hope people appreciate that those risks were taken. They were actually backed and not fought by the studio.
On that note, we need to end. We need to get you to Hall H, but we thank you very much.